Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with Senator Schumer's call for regime change in Israel?
No. Well, let me say this. I'm not sure what call you're referring to, but
Senator Schumer stood on the Senate floor, I'm sure you saw the speech, and demanded regime change in Israel.
That's not for.
Do you agree with Senator Schumer?
Not for us to decide who Israel's government is.
So, yes or no? Do you
Well,
agree?
I didn't. That's not what I heard him say. But regardless, it's not for us to decide who Israel's government is.
Do you agree with Nancy Pelosi that Prime Minister Netanyahu should resign?
Again, it's not for us to say. These are decisions for the Israelis to make.
Do you agree with the Hamas Ministry of Health's death toll?
The precise figures we can't validate. The general number of dead, wounded, injured. We know it's the toll is terrible, and the Israelis acknowledge that themselves.
So we don't have an actual count?
A precise number? No, it's almost impossible to get a precise number in the midst of a war.
So on the decisions that the administration has made with respect to providing Israel lethal aid, what are you using as a metrics to make the determination?
Oh, we have our evaluations, we have our assessments that are not simply what the Hamas ministry is putting out, but our own intelligence, information from a variety of sources.
So do you reject the Hamas Ministry of Health's numbers?
In terms of the precision of the numbers, I can't validate those numbers, but generally speaking, the rough number
is
of
the
total
position
deaths,
of the State Department that they're not accurate?
Again, are they accurate to the person? Of course, we can't validate that. It's impossible to do that.
The United Nations recently revised down the death toll by almost 50%. Do you believe that to be accurate?
Again, those with absolute precision, we can't say. But listen, if it's 14,000 children or 7,000 children, it's still 7,000 children too many.
Do you blame Israel or Hamas for that?
I blame Hamas has created this the crossfire that so many of these people are caught up in.
Okay, you agree they use their own innocent civilians as human shields,
I do,
correct?
but I also believe that Israel must maximize every possible effort to protect civilians.
Well, didn't the State Department put out a report saying that they are?
We put out a report that went through this in some detail, both in terms of the use of weapons and also humanitarian
And what
assistance.
did your report find? Is Israel using maximum care or no?
Our report found that based on the totality of damage that's been done, it's reasonable to assess that in some instances, Israel has acted in ways that are not in accordance with international humanitarian law. Those instances are under a review and investigation by us, but also critically by Israel. And that's the important point as well. It has the ability to self-police, and we have to hold ourselves, whether it's Israel, the United States, or any other democracy, to the highest possible standards in war, even a war that was brought to them by a vicious terrorist group and one that engages in practices like hiding behind civilians. Even there, they and we have an obligation to do everything possible to make sure that, to the best of our ability, civilians are not harmed.
And do you think that they're doing that to the best of their abilities?
I think that there's a gap between the intent that's stated to do that and some of the results that we've seen, and we want to make sure that that gap is closed.
So do you believe Israel is committing a genocide?
No.
Okay. Why did the State Department mourn the death of President Raisi?
We've offered official condolences in the past when countries lose their leaders. That doesn't change in any way the fact that Mr. Raisi horrifically repressed his own people as a judge and then as president of the country. It doesn't change in any way our policy toward Iran.
You agree Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror, correct?
If it's not number one, it's certainly very near the top of the list.
Okay, and do you agree that they fund Hamas about roughly 93% of their budget?
Hamas has been significantly funded by Iran. Of course, Hamas has also been funded by other sources, but Iran, yes, is a significant
Do you believe that Iran and its proxies, Hamas, want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth?
I do.
You agree that's their stated goal?
That's their stated goal. You're right.
Okay, so if you know that's their stated goal, number one, why would we recognize the death of the butcher of Tehran? And number two, why are you withholding weapons and making it harder for Israel to defend itself, knowing full well, as you just testified, that Iran and Hamas want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth?
Yes, and we've done everything that we can do to make sure that Israel has the means to deal effectively with Hamas, including making sure October 7th never happens again. The question is, what is the best way to get an enduring resolution to the problem of Hamas? We have different views
the best way to do it is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages,
yes,
is it not?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So this administration has been an abject disaster when it comes to Iran. Since Joe Biden took office, Iranian petroleum sales are up $88 billion It's why I fought to get my bill, the SHIP Act, and the Iran-China Energy Sanctions Act passed. Are you prepared to enact these into law as part of the administration? And what steps have been taken since this bill was passed weeks ago to start enacting the SHIP Act?
We have found and deemed as blocked more than 50 ships. We'll continue to identify others. We're working to deflag ships so that they can't move and get services from port to port to get at the fleet that is conducting the illicit trade in oil and petrochemical products.
And you agree China is the biggest purchaser of Iranian petroleum?
China is certainly, again, either at the top of the list or near it. Yes.